My name is Shara Carruthers. I'm an Ayurvedic practitioner and a lifestyle and wellness consultant, and primarily I work with women who feel as though they have lost their mojo, their spark, their passion for life, and they're looking for a natural and a more individualized and focused way of finding it. And so that's what I do. I work with people to find it. Today we are talking about this concept of lightening up. We are in the middle of cleansing season, so it's going to be spring in the northern hemisphere, and down here in the southern hemisphere it is autumn. And regardless, it is a time when we, as Ayurvedic loving and practicing people, set aside a little bit of time in our schedules, in our lives, to lighten up. For those of you in spring, you're probably feeling it more than ever because you're coming off the end of winter. Maybe it's a cold winter, maybe it was a long winter, and you are probably really feeling like lightening up. But what I want to share with everybody is that those times in our lives when we feel burdened, when we feel stuck, when we feel heavy, when we feel like we're not getting to where we need to be in our lives, or not getting to where we want to be in our lives, if you tune in to that feeling, it feels heavy. It's a heaviness. And so in the Ayurvedic tradition, the way that we counter heaviness, whether that's happening in the spring or the fall or any time of year or your life, we counter that heaviness with lightness. And so these few tips that I'm going to share with you today for how to lighten up, these aren't really just for spring. They are for any time of year or any time in your life when you're feeling stuck. So let's start with the first one. I'm just going to share three. The first is sometimes counter to what you might be thinking, is eat light. So if you're feeling stuck in your mind, right? If you're feeling like you can't move forward, like you don't have any answers, you're feeling confused, foggy, you're grieving. Sometimes what we crave is comfort, and what we do with that craving is that we stuff, right? And so one of the ways that you can lighten up in these times when you need to feel light is eat light. Eat light, eat a light meal, sometimes skipping a meal is great. I don't often like to recommend that because sometimes people can take it to the extremes, but you know if you need to skip a meal or if that's something that you can do. And so I almost always recommend that if you're feeling heavy or overburdened by life or by your circumstances, just eat light or skip a meal. And by eating light, I've talked about khichdi lots of times here. I've shared the recipe for khichdi. I will share the recipe for khichdi. It's a complete protein, highly nourishing meal, something that we eat when we're cleansing a lot. And it's something that your body can get through pretty easily and pretty efficiently. And so if you can't think of anything else, go with some soup or with some khichdi, but go with light food. You will notice the difference. And make sure that you keep your portions reasonable. You will notice when your body feels light, it somehow creates some space in your mind as well. So that's my first tip. Eat light. The second is the tool that we all have to create clarity, to create space, to create lightness, and that is the breath. Breathe. If you pay any attention to yourself during the day, you might notice that most of us hold our breath. We hold our breath, or we breathe really shallowly. There is something incredibly clarifying about breathing. And so if you're in a situation where you can feel your mind and your body tensing up, you can feel yourself shutting down or closing, just take a moment. Hopefully you can have the presence of mind to just take a moment and breathe. And even if that's just something as simple as taking 5 to 10 really deep breaths, breathing into the belly, feeling the belly expanding, right? That helps us. That gives signals to our body that we're opening up. So breathing into the belly and feeling that expanding, feeling the shoulders drop down, feeling the mind start to clear. 5 deep breaths, and I would even recommend 10 if you have the time or if you can squeeze that in. Everybody has the time. And just notice what that does. Notice how there's a lightness that comes into your space. Notice how there's a lightness that kind of takes over from that heaviness that was there before. And do that as often as you need to achieve the degree of lightness that you need. Okay, so that's two. First, eat light. Second, breathe. And then lastly, this, I have to tell you, is one of my favorite, absolutely favorite things to recommend. I recommend this pretty much every spring for everyone, but it's also something that I recommend that you do throughout the year, again, when you're feeling heavy, when you're feeling stuck, when you're feeling insulated, and that is express yourself. So self-expression is something that most of us find incredibly challenging, right? Speaking our truth, talking, saying the words that need to be said, sharing what's truly in our hearts. If that's, anywhere from giving someone a compliment to, saying the things that you really need to talk about, having a difficult conversation. But what we don't always realize, and what I want to bring your attention to, is this idea that the mind and the body are one, right? That's a kind of a yogic and an Ayurvedic idea. The mind and the body are the same. So what you're experiencing in your mind, and that's going to be the judgment, that's going to be all of those things that are pulling you back, that are drawing you in, and that are keeping you from expressing yourself, all of that is manifesting somewhere in your body, right? And so you might be feeling that in your body as heaviness. You might be feeling that or experiencing that as digestive issues, constipation. You could even be experiencing that as things like rashes and all sorts of things. And so what I'm wanting to draw your attention to is that if we are not expressing ourselves, if we are holding in and holding back, we are doing ourselves a disservice. And so one of the quick and easy, maybe not so easy for everybody, but I can tell you just in terms of a simple thing to do, that you can do to lighten your experience at the present moment, is express yourself. And what I typically recommend for folks, because it's a simple way of expressing yourself, and it's a way to get the ball rolling, is sing. Singing is a great thing to do in the springtime. And if singing isn't something that you do regularly, I do. I sing in the car all the time. I sing in the shower. In fact, I've just joined a singing class. And I've done it for this reason, because I know that it can be our tendency to hold ourselves in. It can be our tendency to hold back. And so if we can express ourselves, whether that starts by a random act of kindness, giving somebody a compliment, singing a song, whether that be in front of people or in the car, tune in to how that makes you feel. Tune into the burden. Feel the burden that is lifted off of your body, off of your mind, when you take the chance to express yourself. And so that's what I've got for you today. Those 3 simple tips. First one, these are ways to feel light in the moment, in the day. Eat light, breathe, and last one, express yourself. And so the other thing that I would recommend, and this is something that I spoke about last week, is to take some time this season to cleanse. Take some time this season to do a detox, whether you do that one day or whether you do that a week, 3 days, 10 days. Just take a little bit of time out for self-care. I am kicking off a cleanse on the 1st of May. This one's going to be a 10-day cleanse. I'm throwing everything into it. I'm sharing it with the folks online. It's going to be open tomorrow for signing up. And I really do hope that you take this opportunity to join us in engaging in this process of cleansing. It's a process of learning yourself, learning about what you can do to take care of yourself, experiencing Ayurveda by living it. And I think that's the best way to experience it. But also creating a practice of building self-care into your life. It's going to be all about lightening up all the different ways that you can do it, and you're going to be invited to try it out and see what happens. So if you've got any questions for me about the cleanse, about what you should be doing during this time of year, in the springtime, if you're in the spring, if you're feeling heavy in any way, I'm happy to hang out for a couple minutes longer and answer any questions that you might have about any of this. And also, if there's things that you want to talk about or things that you want to know about Ayurveda, I would love if you could share that with me, whether you send me a direct message or pop it into one of the comments. I am putting together these quick and simple sessions to share the information with you that you need and that you want to know about. Lots of people have been asking me about food, and so you can bet that there's going to be a lot of sessions about food and about eating coming up, because that's what people really want to know about, it seems. I will be covering that. And of course, anything else that comes to mind. I typically share the things that have worked the best for me, because I want you to try them, and I want you to have the opportunity of having them work for you. All right, so I will leave it there. I'm so happy because I was able to get this done pretty quickly, and I like to try to leave these things with these little bits of information, these little grabs of goodness with you quickly, so that you can move on with your day and that you can start implementing them. And so, until I see you again, that's next Thursday, eat light, breathe, and express yourself. Sing. Ah! All right, we'll see you soon. Namaste.